Hello, everyone. Yair Spitz here with an update from the field. Last night I shared with you the unique atmosphere of Shabbat. That even though we hear uh, in the field, it's still a special, unique atmosphere of Shabbat. Um, but today we were back to our regular activities, weekday activities. Our first main mission is to just stay prepared and maintain a high alertness and readiness for the possibility of things developing here up in the northern front. But in addition to that, there's day-to-day life, and one of the main things that we do is drills. Um, and those drills have a lot of variations, and we're constantly getting better and better at those drills. And happy to share with you some whatever I can from those drills with a few examples. So there are two types of drills. One type of drill is a drill that everyone in the base participates in equally, and those are drills in which we practice a situation where there's some kind of threat on the base. I won't go into too many details. There's 3 or 4 different scenarios this is not just for us. These are 3 or 4 standard types of possible threats on a base that are true to any base during a time of war, during a time of peace, during any time. But obviously, in these times, there's a bigger fear or a bigger need to be prepared for them. And every day, one or two of the 4 possible threats on a base. These drills take place. There's no prior notice. There's a loudspeaker that goes off, announces the type of drill. It's passed out through all of the microphones and the comms, and then those drills can take anywhere between 5 minutes to half an hour, and they could include having to stay where people are and just put on their gear, to having to go into their vehicles, to manning the surrounding area of the base. So those happen once, twice a day, in different types of variations, and then afterwards, the commanders, the officers, sit down and they review how it went and what we need to learn, how we need to get better. The second type of drill is drills that are done just on the level of each unit, and where they have to practice their specific area of responsibility in the battalion. So, for instance, the medical team, so they have drills that they do. Sometimes they'll self-drill. They'll just to practice themselves to get better at all the different things they need to do to make sure all of the medics are up to speed with the equipment. They'll practice bandaging each other. They'll practice going through different scenarios and sometimes they'll just do that between themselves. And sometimes the battalion commander will come and surprise them and suddenly do a drill. The same thing is true for let's say the ammunition department in loading ammunition, in fixing ammunition. So those are, each unit has drills that they do, and independently, and sometimes once every few days there'll be a drill that combines different units doing a drill together, or sometimes there'll be a drill that puts everything together. So, for instance, today there was a big drill in which we practiced the possibility of there being a certain threat on the base, where everyone in the base had to basically protect themselves and run to a protective station. And during that drill, there was a drill within a drill that there were some people who got injured, and then during the drill, the big drill, the medical team had to come in a certain way. They had to come with an armored personnel carrier to the injured people and start treating them. And in a drill like that, there are actually 4 people who are told by by whoever's running the drill. Okay, you're injured, you're injured, you're injured, and then the medical team gets there and starts and gets told, okay, this person has such and such an injury, this person has such and such an injury, and they start treating them. And then, as part of the drill, one of the injured soldiers was also defined as being based on the medical care that they got, that they weren't able to quote unquote save him, and he was defined as deceased. At that point, I get called in, and I go with the rabbinical unit, which is myself and one soldier under my command. It's actually supposed to be 3 soldiers under my command, but I only have 1 soldier under my command. That's the personnel problem that we face. We did what we're supposed to do. They're both following the halachot of how to treat a niftar, as well as the regulations of the army, which I won't go into. And this is something that I'm well trained in. Every year when I go to Miluim, to my reserve duty, 2-3 times a year, I practice this, so I'm pretty well versed in it. But what was interesting today is that I got a chance to practice something which I haven't done before, which has to do with with another point, which is that the army is a massive, huge organization, and it's comprised of mostly of people who are not professional soldiers. These are regular people like me, like my friends here, who have their regular daily lives, who have professions that usually have nothing to do with what they do in the army, and they spend a few days a year practicing it. And despite that, what I was very happy to see today is that even though I had never been to the base where I went today to take the niftar, and I only spoke on the phone to the people there, at the end of the day, once we got there, there was an entire mechanism up and ready to receive us with a 15 or 20 minute notice, and the whole operation was there, and I was very impressed by how professional the people were, how high tech the equipment was. I won't go into too much detail, but it made me appreciate even more the fact that beyond the high ideals that I speak about and I encounter and I try to keep in mind, there's also just people who are doing their job, people who are practicing on a daily basis, going through routines and trying to get better and better and better. And it's not always easy, but it's a wonderful thing to see people day in, day out practicing, doing the same thing over and over again, trying to get better and better and better, and to see how even though it's this massive organization, that it works, and that's something that fills me with a sense of confidence. Something that I personally experienced today, and I was actually surprised to see how well it went. Another significant thing that happened today was that you might remember a few days ago I mentioned there was a soldier who approached me who said he had yahrzeit for his father on Sunday night. So it seemed I misunderstood him. It was yahrzeit for his mother, and that was tonight. So after I got back from the drill, which took about 3.5 hours, maybe even 4, from the moment I left the base to the moment I got back to my base. So I got back, and then I spent the next couple hours trying to put together the thing for his mother's yahrzeit. And it was a whole operation. Nothing is simple to put together. I had to speak to my commanders to make sure I could leave the base, make sure I have someone who could take me, speak to him to see where he was, make sure that his commander gives him approval. At the end of the day, it all came together. We met at a third base that was halfway between my base and his base, where I'm stationed and where he's stationed, because it's a large area that were spread across. We met there. So before we were able to get 11 people. We kind of gathered some of the soldiers who were in the area. I had a chance to speak to him just a little bit beforehand, maybe 2-3 minutes. He came. He had 15 minutes before he had to leave. So we didn't really have enough time to do a full Maariv. Most of the people that were there were not religious, and it wouldn't really have worked. And I felt that it was more important to be able to talk a little bit and learn together a little bit. So I had a chance to speak to him a little. He said his mother had passed away 2 years earlier. He said she died at a very, very old age. He said, he said they're Russian, made Aliyah in 1990 at the very beginning of the wave of Russian Aliyah after the fall of the Soviet Union. They moved to Ashkelon. He said he was the youngest in his family. He was 16 when they came. I asked him if his mother had seen him as a soldier. He said yes, and we spoke a little bit about that, and then we started the Azkara. So I started off by telling the soldiers that I wanted to thank them for coming and participating in this, and that it's not an obvious thing. I said, and it's the fact that we are standing in the near the northern border of Israel during a war, protecting Am Yisrael, and standing here and coming together for a fellow Jew, to say Kaddish for his mother. He says this is a very, very unique thing. And I went on to say, to try to explain what is it that we're going to do here the next few minutes. He says, why is he going to say Kaddish today? Why are we going to learn some Mishnayot? I said that there's a Chazal tell us, the rabbis tell us, that Rishayim, even in their life, they're called dead, and the evil, the wicked, even when they're alive, they're considered to be dead, and the tzaddikim, righteous, even when after they have passed away, they're considered to be alive. He said, what does this mean? I said that we have a tendency to think of someone who's living as someone whose lungs go up and down, or his chest goes up and down. I says, but as we've seen 3 weeks ago, is obviously not true. There are many creatures 3 weeks ago whose chests maybe go up and down, but they're anything but human beings, anything but you could say as a life, as a living human. Whether we understand life not as just chest moving up and down, we understand living as someone who has a positive impact on the world, on the people around them, on the world around them. I said, and therefore, if in the memory of Gregory's mother, we are sitting here and we are learning Torah, and we are saying Kaddish, and we are sitting together as brothers, and we are protecting the land and the people of Israel, then with her name on our lips and with her memory in our hearts, then she is continuing to influence us, continuing to influence Gregory and his family, and she's continuing to have positive impact on the world. At the end of the day, that is the real true measure of what it means to be alive, to have a positive impact. And therefore, even if someone is physically no longer in the world, if we, in their memory or when we think of them, it causes us to be better and to do better, then their life is continuing, not just symbolically as if they are alive within our hearts. No, their life force is continuing to create positive things in the world. And then we went on to learn some Mishnayot. We learned 4 Mishnayot, with the Otiyot of Neshama. That's what we had time for. So I chose all the Mishnayot from Masechet Brachot that dealt either with Tefillah, with the Zimun, with Shema. The last one we read was had to do with Shema. So spoke a little bit about Shema. He said, this is the sentence that the Jews have kept closest to their hearts for centuries. This is the pasuk that people said every morning and every night. These are the pasukim that we remember as children, that we heard in shul or we heard from our parents. This is the sentence that Jews also said when they were makriv, when they were executed, when they were murdered. This is the last sentence a Jew says before they pass away. on their bed at old age. And this is a sentence that people said 3 weeks ago at the party and other places. I said, and I said, and the following word after Shema Yisrael Hashem Eloheinu Hashem Echad is Ve'ahavta. And afterwards it talks about children and family. It says, and this is what we're about. We're about belief in Hashem, the Hashem that we are familiar with from history, who is our Elohim, Israel. And that automatically translates into Hava, into love, and to Vishinantam Levanecha, to continuity, and to teach our children and to raise them with these ideals and these aspirations. I said, and nothing could exemplify that more than the fact that we are standing right here, and that Gregory, while he is, at war, he does not forget where he comes from, does not forget his mother, does not forget her yurtzeit, and we're standing here in this surreal situation during a war, and learning Torah and listening to Gregory, connecting to the memory of his mother by saying Kaddish. And I said, and I'm sure that we will all remember this for years to come. And I said something along the lines of, I imagine Gregory one day will tell his children and grandchildren and but he has children, his grandchildren, great grandchildren, about this yurtzeit as one of, if not the most unique and meaningful yurtzeits that he's had. And I said, I'm sure that your mother is is looking down upon us. And is proud of you and is proud of us, and I'm sure sees this yurtzeit as more meaningful than ones that you do in other years in a more standard way. He went to say Kaddish. It was extremely, extremely meaningful and powerful, and then just like that, it was over. We hugged. He got into his vehicle, drove off to where he's stationed. I got into my vehicle. We drove off to our station, and that's how the evening ended. But it was extremely meaningful for everyone who was there, myself included.